It's my great pleasure tonight to have the opportunity to introduce another introducer, one of Poland's greatest proponents of spreading democracy and freedom in Eastern Europe and around the world, Prime Minister Jerzy Buzek. Prime Minister Buzek has demonstrated his dedication to the cause of freedom in many ways, beginning with his early membership in the nascent Solidarity trade union movement in 1980. He quickly rose to the union's top ranks and chaired the National Congress in 1981. During martial law, he was one of Solidarity's key underground leaders, and he remained active in Solidarity as it grew and ultimately brought an end to the communist regime, not only in this country, but across the region. As head of the Polish government from 1997 to 2001, Prime Minister Buzek worked together with President Kwasniewski to bring Poland into NATO and to set Poland on the path to membership in the European Union. And as the first Central European president of the European Parliament, Prime Minister Buzek was a champion of human rights around the world, calling for reforms in China, in North Africa, and Central Asia. During his presidency, Prime Minister Buzek was a strong defender and supporter of all people fighting for freedom, democracy, and human dignity, whether in Tahrir Square in Cairo or Martyrs Square in Tripoli. In 2010, I sat in this room as both Prime Minister Buzek and President Kwasniewski were among the first to receive Atlantic Council Freedom Awards here in Wroclaw. Those of us who were here will never forget their speeches. At the time, Prime Minister Buzek said he accepted the award on behalf of the Polish people who together had struggled for freedom, but he also pointed out that Poland was not alone in this struggle and it was able to rely on the support of the entire Atlantic community. Today, there are many countries around the world who, thanks to Prime Minister Buzek, are grateful to Poland and the West for its moral and material support as they struggle for freedom. Prime Minister Buzek, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Now we would like to turn to democracy as a main point. In Poland, we value democracy very much. We have been fighting for democracy for several decades, and we know that it's not easy to implement democracy. So today, we are ready for assistance in each place all over the world where democracy is built. Northern Africa, Western Balkans, Eastern Europe. Because we know very well how important it was. Your assistance, dear friends from the United States, during our struggle for democracy. But anyone who thinks that you were at the first with the idea of democracy is wrong. As the first, we recognize Greeks. They taught us what being citizens mean. They discovered how important it is to argue, to dispute, even to quarrel, and at the end, to decide by majority and to act together. They also created Agora. We should remember about that. The special place for wide, deep, and tough discussion with full protection of everybody's dignity. Well, I think it's a very good time to think from time to time slightly warmer about the Greeks. Dear friends, it's my preface about democracy in general, because we know in our modern history you are the champions in this field, our dear friends from the United States. And it is thanks to your first ever democratic modern constitution, and also to your fantastic idea of National Endowment for Democracy. I can tell you that your support for solidarity in the darkest times of martial law was enormous. We wouldn't achieve so much without your constant assistance, without such a feeling that we can be sure of your help, without such a feeling that you would never left us behind. And we can say today that in many places all over the world, many people, many nations can say absolutely the same. You would never left us behind. It's a great achievement, your National Endowment for Democracy. But if we talk about great organizations, incredible organizations, we also think about great and incredible people. This time, it is, as a matter of fact, mainly one man, Mr. Karl Gershman, who is together with us tonight. I would like to ask you to come here on the podium, Mr. Gershman. Let me say, your commitment to human rights, to peace, to democracy, earned you a place in history. All of us were very sure of that. We cannot even imagine NET without you as a president. We honored you in this country with the Knight's Cross of the Order of Merit in the 1998. Let me say that it is a great honor for me to present this Atlantic Council Freedom Award to Mr. Karl Gershman and National Endowment for Democracy. Let us make together the world a better place. Congratulations.
Well, I'm very, very grateful to the Atlantic Council and to Fred Kempe for honoring the National Endowment for Democracy with this Freedom Award, and of course to Jerzy Buzek for presenting this tribute to the Ned. We are really humbled by all that he has done for democracy over more than 3 decades, starting in 1980 when he was a solidarity organizer here in Silesia, which is also his native region. And I also want to thank him for arriving late tonight, because had he not arrived late, I would have had to have gone on immediately after Władysław Bartoszewski, and that would have been very unfortunate. Next Friday, June the 8th, will mark the 30th anniversary of President Ronald Reagan's Westminster Address that launched the Ned and the growing global effort to aid democracy. As important as that speech was, and Ned will be commemorating this anniversary next week at the Reagan Library in California, the real beginning of this work was the birth and eventually the momentous success of Solidarity. Ned was privileged to aid the Solidarity struggle. And I want to take this opportunity to pay tribute to 3 people, Bronislaw Geremek, Jacek Kuran, and Leszek Kolakowski, 3 Polish heroes, all of them dear friends, who now rest side by side in the Puławski Cemetery in Warsaw. They brought so much to the struggle for democracy: courage and determination, the knowledge of history, the understanding of ideas and ideology, strategic vision, humor, comradeship, solidarity. Ned is a stronger organization today, and its support for Democrats all over the world is more effective because our roots are connected to these great Democrats. You see up there some pictures of grantees, and I'm going to speak briefly about them. One of them is, that's Tawakkul Karman, who is the current Nobel Peace Laureate. You'll see a picture also, that's from Azerbaijan, some bloggers. There's a picture there also of the empty Nobel chair of Liu Xiaobo, 2010 Nobel laureate. The last 2 Nobel Peace Laureates were Ned grantees. And the third in a row is going to be Ales Byalyatski, who we're going to be honoring in a moment. When he gets the Nobel Peace Prize, and I hope that he does come this October, it will be an expression of solidarity with the struggle of Belarus. But there's one picture there, and we'll come back to it, Ned not only had a special relationship and has a special relationship with Poland and Solidarity, but also with Wroclaw. I came to Wroclaw for the first time in 1989 to attend the conference on Central Europe at the Crossroads. That's Liu Xiaobo, the empty Nobel Peace Prize chair, because Liu Xiaobo is still in prison, and we express our solidarity with him tonight. This meeting that I came to was organized by the Polish-Czechoslovak Solidarity Foundation. And speaking to the Polish Parliament in 1990, Václav Havel called this meeting one of the prologues to our Czechoslovak Revolution. And I've always felt that this grant that we made, it was a very small grant, to be precise, it was $7,500. That grant that we made for that meeting was dollar for dollar the best grant that the Ned ever made. By the way, that individual is Floribert Chebeya. Floribert Chebeya was head of an organization in the Congo called Voice of the Voiceless. These are the kind of people we support. This is the kind of solidarity we have with Poland and with these people. It was 2 years ago this day that Floribert was murdered by the police in the Congo for being a human rights activist. And we memorialized him with our Democracy Service Medal. So these are very, very great people. And there's one photograph, I don't know if we can come back to it, but maybe you can come back to that photograph of all the activists shot it was one of the first ones, I think it was the first one that was shown. And I'll say a word about it when it appears back on the screen. The grant that we made for this meeting was especially important because it was part of something larger. That's the photograph. That photograph was standing outside the meeting room when I came to Wroclaw in 1989, and those are the Polish and Czechoslovak dissident activists that met on the prohibited border between Poland and Czechoslovakia. And you can look through the picture. You'll see Václav Havel sort of kneeling in the middle. You'll see Adam Michnik, two people to his left. You'll see Zbigniew Janas, who was the founder of the Polish-Czechoslovak Solidarity Foundation. Immediately to Havel's right, Romaszewski is down there in the bottom. Kuran, see that smiling face in the middle there, right at the bottom? That's Jacek Kuran. All those people, Jan Czarnogórski, others, Jan Orban, they're all great heroes. And that is the group that we were supporting, which then helped bring democracy to Czechoslovakia. But this was part of a larger idea, this multinational fund for friendship and collaboration, because it was this region, Central Europe's first initiative committed exclusively to transnational cooperation and cross-border democracy assistance. Such aid is now provided by most of the new democracies in the region. Poland's recent establishment of the Foundation for International Solidarity and its leadership in the effort to create the European Endowment for Democracy, and Radek Sikorski, of course, took the lead on this. They are a continuation of this commitment to international democratic solidarity. The principles upon which the multinational fund was based: open frontiers, the renunciation of territorial claims, and respect for minority rights, were the foundation of the Eastern policy, which was developed in exile by Jerzy Gierowicz in the pages of the Paris-based journal Kultura. This policy eventually became the basis of the foreign policy of democratic Poland. Its essence, as explained by Geremek, was the belief, and I quote, that the Polish national idea could only be the idea of liberty for all the other nations in the region. It was a way of overcoming the bitter conflicts of the past through transnational democratic solidarity. Wroclaw, a multicultural city in Silesia, which historian Norman Davies, whom we've been honored to have with us at this conference, has called a region of passage between East and West. It's the natural home of the idea of cross-border democratic solidarity. This idea has been embraced by Wrocław's mayor, the distinguished Rafał Dutkiewicz, and it is also what brought Jan Nowak Jeziorski to Wrocław at the end of his life to found the Collegium of Central Europe. Jan, who was my mentor on all things Polish, he told me what to do. You can give me the credit for this, but Jan said, do this, and I did it. Very characteristically called Wrocław a strategic outpost in the struggle for a better and a safer future for Poland. Poland has learned from the harsh lessons of history, of its history, how important it is to build institutions of peace and stability. Freedom is always vulnerable and its cause is never safe, is the message that Leszek Kolakowski, brought to a Ned gathering in Washington at an unusually hopeful moment, more hopeful than today, in 1989. With those very sobering words in this difficult period, and at this less certain time, let us remain vigilant in the defense of freedom, and let us press forward together. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. You mentioned Norman Davies, and as you know, there is the famous book and history about Wrocław written by Norman Davies, who was traveling a world around, microcosm. Have you ever read this book? Raise your hands. I would say the majority does, but still, the book is still available in a bookstore in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Norman told me. Applause for Norman Davies. And now I will be talking Polish because it seems to be important to be said in a Polish language. Szanowni Państwo, demokracji nie mamy danej.
Is not given to us once and for all.
Wolność
Freedom
słowa i
of
swobody
speech and
obywatelskie
civil rights
nadal
can be
zagrożone.
still under threat.
Tych wartości
Those
trzeba
values
strzec
have to be protected.
inteligentnie.
These values have to be protected in an intelligent
Za ich
but
obronę
decisive way.
przychodzi czasem
Because
płacić wysoką
also we
cenę.
have to remember that we have to
Najlepiej o
pay a
tym
high
wiedzą
price for
obecni wśród
defending
nas
them, and that
liderzy
is
białoruskiej
very well
opozycji.
known, especially by the leaders
Aleksander
of
Milinkiewicz czy
Belarus opposition,
Kaliada z
Aleksander
Białoruskiego Wolnego
Milinkiewicz or Natalia Kaliada
Natalia
from the
rok
Belarus
temu
Free Theatre.
otrzymała nagrodę
Natalia
Freedom
received
Award.
Freedom
Ale nie mogła do nas
Award
przyjechać.
last year, but she was not
Dziś
able to
jest
see
z
us.
nami
Today she is with us,
osobiście
and
odbierze
in
statuetkę.
person she will
Natalio,
be able to receive
zapraszam cię
her
do nas.
award.
Proszę
Natalia,
Państwa o
I
oklaski.
would like to invite you on the stage. Please applaud Natalia.
You know, last year it was my video appeal here. But as a theater maker, we need to hit the stage, obviously. So here I am again and speaking to you not from video, but in person. It's a great honor and great responsibility to get such the award on behalf of people of Belarus. And, you know, today it was a session on digitizing democracy, so my remarks are here, if I forget something to say. But those 2 days that the Atlantic Council and Wroclaw Global Forum takes place, in Belarus yesterday, in different cities of Belarus, people were arrested. Today, 20 Polish people from national minority in Belarus, in Grodno, because they were against of Russification of Polish school in Belarus, were arrested. All of it is happening now in Belarus, just 1 hour flight from Wroclaw. On the 16th of December of 2010, Václav Havel, together with 20 other artists, Ai Weiwei, Tom Stoppard, and it was initiated by Belarus Free Theatre, declared a state of emergency in Belarus by signing Artistic Manifesto. It was the 16th of December of 2011. In 2 days, Václav Havel passed away. The last thing that he did, he signed that manifesto. He was dedicated to morality in politics and to people of Belarus to the last days of his life. Today, I want to appeal to people of Belarus and ask them to act now and raise their voices, because nobody will do it for them. And they are ready for these changes. Today, I appeal to all of you, leaders of European Union and United States government, just to prove to all dictators in Iran, North Korea, Syria, that you are global superpower, not fading giants, by just getting rid of the last dictator of Europe. Otherwise, we will appeal to Emma Bonito, so it looks like she could deal with the last dictator, if EU and US government cannot do it. I want to dedicate this award to all independent artists in Belarus, because they could make voices of Belarusian people stronger. But this award belongs to all political prisoners of Belarus, to their families, to those who are still in jail. Today, 16 people are still in jail. There were 2 people executed without any legal background there. Ales Byalyatski was staying here on this stage 1 year ago, but he is in jail. Let's move now, let's act now, because we need to bring these changes and to prove to dictators that one human being life has its value. Thank you so much for this great honor to be here.
Живе Беларусь! Woo!
Proszę Państwa, przedstawiciele białoruskiej opozycji
Representatives of
są
Belarusian
bohaterami.
opposition
Imponują
are
odwagą i
heroes, and
niezależnością
they
głoszonych
impress us
poglądów.
with the courage
Uprawiają
and independence
krytyczne i
of their
samodzielne
views.
myślenie,
They think
bo
critically and
tylko
independently,
takie
because
rozumowanie ma sens.
this is the only way
Pokazują,
that
w jaki sposób
it
oddzielić
makes
prawdę od
sense.
fałszu,
They show us how
rzeczy
to
wartościowe
separate
od błahych,
lies
jak
from
nie odzierać
truth,
ludzi z przynależnej im
important things
godności,
from
jak
things that are
wreszcie
trivial, and how
wsłuchiwać się
to
w głos swojej
maintain
intuicji
dignity of the
i swego
people, and how
sumienia.
to listen to the
Rok temu,
consciousness and the
o
inner
czym
voice telling them how
przypominaliśmy
to behave.
wielokrotnie, we
A year
Wrocławiu
ago, which we remind
Nagrodę
you of
Wolności otrzymali
several
Białoruski
times,
Wolny Teatr,
Belarus
Centrum
Free
Praw
Theatre,
Człowieka Władysław
Center of
oraz
Human Rights
Białoruskie
Viasna,
Stowarzyszenie
and
Dziennikarzy.
Belarus Association of
2011
Journalists
roku
received the
szef
award
Władysny, Ales Byalyatski,
last year,
był z nami.
and Ales Byalyatski, the leader
Osobiście,
of
o czym przed
opposition
chwilą przypomnieliśmy, odebrał tę
Viasna
nagrodę.
Center was
Dziś
here, and he
odsiaduje
collected the
wyrok w
award
kolonii
in
karnej
person.
o
Today
zaostrzonym
he is in
rygorze.
a penal colony
Wraz
of the
ze wszystkimi obecnymi
very
na sali kłaniam się
extreme
nisko
conditions,
obecnej
and
wśród nas
therefore
żonie
I
Alesia,
bow my
pani
head
Natalii
in
Pinchuk.
front of
Prosimy o oklaski.
Mrs. Natalia Pinchuk, his wife, who is here with us today. We'd like to invite you to come to the stage.
Przed chwilą mówił o tym Karol.
Carol
Mamy
was
nadzieję,
talking
że
about
dzień
it just a
12
moment ago.
października
Let's hope
2012
that
roku
the
będzie
12th
wielkim
of October
świętem białoruskiej
2012 will
opozycji.
be a great
Wtedy bowiem Komitet
feast of
Noblowski ogłosi laureata
of
pokojowej
Belarus
Nagrody
opposition,
Nobla.
because this will
Wszyscy
be the day
głęboko
that the Council of Nobel
wierzymy, że
Prize will
zostanie
declare the
nim
winner
nasz
of
przyjaciel
Nobel
Ales.
Peace Prize, and we hope that Ales Byalyatski will be the
O
we
przedstawienie
were
jego
awarded
sylwetki
the Nobel Peace
proszę
Prize,
pana
and I would
Andrzeja
like
Seweryna,
to
wybitnego
ask
polskiego artystę,
eminent Polish
którego
actor
pozycja jako
Andrzej
aktora
Seweryn
światowego
to
formatu
present his
jest dziś
silhouette. His
niepodważalna.
position as
Wyznaczają współpraca z najwybitniejszymi reżyserami teatralnymi i
prominent
filmowymi. Peterem
actor
Brookiem,
who
Andrzejem
worked
Wajdą czy
with
Stevenem
most
Spielbergiem.
famous
W
directors such as Andrzej
1993
Wajda,
roku Andrzej otrzymał
Peter Brook or
angaż
Steven
jako trzeci
Spielberg,
cudzoziemiec w historii teatru
and he
francuskiego
will tell us
do
about
Comedie-Francaise, jednego z
Ales
najbardziej
Byalyatski.
prestiżowych zespołów
And,
teatralnych na świecie.
instead of,
Od 1 stycznia
acting in
2011
Schindler's
roku
List of
jest
Spielberg,
kimś jeszcze
he
ważniejszym, dyrektorem
began,
naczelnym Teatru
his
Polskiego
career in
w Warszawie.
Comedie-Francaise, which is
Andrzej
indeed
Seweryn
great
od
honor to
studenckich
an
lat
actor.
60.
Andrzej
poprzez
Seweryn,
lata 70.
since his
aż po czasy
student days in the
Solidarności lat
60s throughout
80.
70s until the
aktywnie
Solidarity
współpracował
days
z
in the
demokratyczną
80s,
opozycją w
actively
Polsce.
participated in the
Andrzeju,
works of
bardzo proszę.
democratic opposition in Poland. Andrzej, I would like to invite you on the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, in some countries, there is a widespread belief that civil and social protests do not make a difference. Frankly, I do not believe that those against whom we stand today, whose views and actions we condemn, would feel shocked or even affected by this very meeting and by our honoring Mr. Ales Byalyatski with the Freedom Award for the year 2011. However, I sincerely hope that it is of great importance to Mr. Ales Byalyatski and to many others who are denied their right to freedom of speech, who are denied the right to act, think, and express their beliefs in their own country. We live in time deprived of a genuine system of values. In times when for some people the only real value is the actual lack of values. Words such as sympathy, empathy, compassion, responsibility, solidarity, sacrifice are not in common use. In addition, if we happen to hear these words, we do not believe they can actually make a difference. We do not believe in their power and the ideas that stand behind them, and we doubt them. So why are we here today? Why do we do what we do? What is the purpose of our meeting? I think, no. I'm deeply convinced that defending the weak and the vulnerable is our inalienable and fundamental duty, which we are obliged to fulfill regardless of the circumstances and of the price we may pay. For me, a sort of a Jacek Kuroń child, helping others is not only a duty, but also a true need resulting from the ethos in which I was raised, and nothing will ever change that. I have no doubt that Poles, due to their long and difficult path to freedom, should encourage and support other nations in their fight for freedom. And it is not our privilege, as we often tend to think. It is our fundamental duty. This is what we owe them. This is our debt to Europe. Once supported, now we do need to support. I do believe that the protests can bring significant changes if only they are consistently encouraged and persistently repeated. Maybe not at once, maybe not today, but the time will definitely come. I honestly believe that even in a situation where there is no chance for effective action, we should not remain silent and indifferent. Silence is nothing else than a sign of our approval. This is why I'm so glad that there are so many people gathered here with whom I can share my views, so many who speak with one voice and stand for this belief that there is no approval and there will never be any kind of approval for totalitarian regimes in Europe. For this reason, I admire those who have enough strength and courage to put their beliefs into action as Mr. Ales Byalyatski did. I am honored to introduce to you a unique person, Mrs. Natalia Pinchuk, the wife of Mr. Ales Byalyatski.
Шановне господарство, Алес ведає про мою поїздку сюди і передає слово вітання удільникам Конгресу і віншування сьогоднішнім лауреатам. Він зараз знаходиться у Бобруйській колонії, працює 6 днів на тиждень. І потім, наколькі значно скоротилося наше землеблістування, можна міркувати, що вольного часу немає.
He is under arrest in prison, and because his letters are getting shorter and shorter, I can only imagine that he has very little free time. I was able to tell him that I will participate in this meeting because on the 17th of May I received the official permission to meet Ales. He got this permission to meet. It was so-called a longer visit. I can't say honestly that it was a very long meeting because the management of prison, using any excuse, restricted our meeting to 24 hours out of 3 days. The representatives of prison authorities control Ales, and that means, of course, restricting his contacts also with other arrested people, and they are advised against meeting with a political prisoner. What happens in case of other accused people, that is not such a problem. However, in case of Ales, these are very serious restrictions. It's a psychological pressure he's undergoing. He lives in a very difficult psychological conditions. During our meeting, he was not complaining. He doesn't complain about his health, and unfortunately so, because I noticed that he is too skinny. Sometime in the autumn, during the court cases and other meetings, which were not very frequent, nevertheless they took place, I was able to notice that he was constantly coughing. He didn't have such symptoms before. I noticed that aczkolwiek he answers that he feels well, it's nothing to worry about. It's simply he doesn't complain. But it is obvious that, it's obvious to me and to other people that his stay in prison is very detrimental to his health. And I don't know what will be the consequences for his state of health in future. Situation is very difficult. It seems that at any point it can get worse. Officially, media blacken his image all the time, as if it's not enough that he couldn't say goodbye to his very ill father. He wasn't able to meet his father before his father died. The court case is extended and carries on for a very long time. He's been accused and charged with fine, and he just received another fine. And the authorities continue confiscating assets, including the seat of organization Viasna. But he's still fighting, and thanks to his activity, a great national organization was created, Viasna. Despite the fact that its leader has been in prison for some time, will not result in disappearance of Viasna organization. Many people in Belarus participate in demonstrations of solidarity with Ales, but we would like to stress nevertheless that international support is crucial here. And I hope that democratic countries for whom the human rights and civil rights are most important, that these countries will put every effort to free Ales and other political prisoners.
Thank you, Natalia Pinchuk, for reminding us, and please stay on the stage, even as we celebrate heroes of freedom, that this battle is not done. To quote Carl Gershman, freedom is always vulnerable, the cause is never safe. Again, let us remain vigilant in the cause of freedom. Let us together press forward. Through the Freedom Award dinners, we try to do our small part in creating a real community of freedom defenders, a community that is bridging both national and cultural boundaries. I'm inspired, we are inspired by your husband, by this community, and we're proud to try to do our part in growing this community. So now, to conclude the evening, I'd like all of tonight's awardees and introducers to join us on the stage for a group picture as you applaud these great people. I hope you've all enjoyed tonight's ceremony as much as I have. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes tonight's ceremony of the Atlantic Council Freedom Awards 2012.